Hey there. Welcome to Millennium Milestone Presents, a site dedicated to storytelling in books, movies, video games, and other exciting genres where James Gunn's DCU is about to start at brand new heights.
Can, just the way I showed you. Let's go.
Check me out, Stevie. I'ma try something.
Man, don't do nothing stupid over there.
You know me.
That's what I'm talking about. Jimmy, what are you doing? You can't bank at that speed. Jimmy, he's closing on you. Put your mask back on. That's an order, Marine.
I can't breathe.
Jimmy!
Oh, no.
That writing a comic book superhero movie and being an expert in it could be a little bit like when you're wearing a band t-shirt and someone approaches you and is like, name 5 songs.
Oh, it's exactly that. It's literally exactly that. I have so much respect for the fans, and I actually am like, you know more than me. Like, I promise that. I promise you know more than me. Because my...
Okay, I'm done now. I think I've recovered. Well, here we are again, ready to review yet one other movie. And here we are with Supergirl. Let's get into it right now. So here we are, DC Studios' Supergirl, directed by Craig Gillespie, and based on Tom King's acclaimed... Sorry, try not to pee. Acclaimed comic arc, Woman of Tomorrow, introduces a much grittier, cynical, and punk rock version of Kara Zor-El than audiences are used to. Unlike her cousin Superman, who was raised in a cozy Kansas home, Kara spent her early years on surviving a toxic fragment of Krypton, watching everyone she loved die, nursing deep PTSD, and feeling fundamentally homeless. A 23-year-old Kara, played by Millie Alcott,
What?
interesting name there, spends her time space hopping on an interstellar pub crawl under a red sun, trying to drown out her past with booze. The trajectory of Kara's aimless life shifts when she crosses paths with Ruthie, played by Eve Ridley, a young alien girl on a desperate quest for vengeance. Ruthie's hunting down Krem of the Yellow Hills, played by Matthias Schoenarts, a ruthless space pirate who slaughtered her family and burned her home to the ground. At first, a hungover Kara wants absolutely nothing to do with the girl's revenge mission. However, Krem crosses a massive line when he steals Kara's spaceship, shoots her beloved companion, Crypto the Superdog, with a fatally poisoned dart. With only 3 days to track down Krem and secure the antidote to save Crypto, Kara is forced to reluctantly team up with Ruthie. What follows is a gritty, planet-hopping sci-fi odyssey across dangerous alien frontiers, space pirate outposts, and lawless dive bars. On the way, they cross paths with chaotic figures like the massive intergalactic bounty hunter, Lobo, played by Jason Momoa. As the journey pushes Kara to her physical limits under different alien suns, she finds herself not just fighting to save her dog, but trying to mentor Ruthie and steer the young girl away from letting hatred consume her. Ultimately, the mission forces the jaded Woman of Tomorrow to sober up, confront her deep-seated trauma, and rediscover what it truly means to be a hero.
That was beautiful.
To say that I was incredibly underwhelmed is a massive understatement with this movie. Now, I do want to get this out of the way. I reviewed Superman's James Gunn, as Nerderotic has coined very effectively, and I'm going to be honest, I feel like in some weird way I regret the score I gave it. Though I will stand by that I gave it a somewhat excellent score. And the only reason I would give that is because it had enough redeemable scenes in there to allow me to give it a fair score. I wish there was enough in there that I could have given it less, I'll be honest. But here we are with yet another super movie from Jimmy Gunless, and here we are getting another deconstruction of another superhero in the most unfashionable way possible. And that's maybe my first negative thing I need to say about this film is how much, not just James Gunn, but anybody at DC Studios, anybody at Marvel, just don't really love the IPs they work for. We can tell you don't. And this is why I say this, because everything goes around the same tired tropes that you choose to use for your movies, and that's doing jokes for your characters. Here you start off with Kara being a drunk. And yes, I know this is all in the Tom King novel. Congratulations, you adapted a book. And you adapted a book that Anna Nagura clearly did not write. Tom King wrote this book, but took Anna Nagura to credit for adapting a book. Bravo. Now, why does that specifically bother me that we have Supergirl as a drunk girl with PTSD, which this is something else I did forget to mention, but I did mention the beginning of this video. Well, let's take the name Super and Hero. Many of the content creators have always mentioned that a lot of these movies now tend to have a lot of heroism, but lack the super part of the heroism. This is a superhero. This is not a Odysseus or some Greek tragedy that needs to be dissimulated to an even lower ebb of what it is. Supergirl is just as much an inspiring character, just like Superman. And ironic, in this day and age where you want to feature women more in your film, this is what you give us. A barfing, messy-haired buffoon who doesn't even like the costume they wear. What inspiration are you giving? And when that inspiration does come eventually, yes, it does eventually come, it comes in the form of a little girl belittling a superhero. And don't get me wrong, there are scenes where, a weaker or younger character does belittle or complain to a superhero. But again, what inspiration did I get out of that conversation, let alone anything else in this movie? And that's really my gripe with a lot of this. It's this tired trope of taking a superhero, deconstructing it, and just to show us that they are flawed, that you cannot accept that they can be good people. And that's probably the biggest problem with Hollywood itself, is it cannot write characters that are simply good. It cannot write characters that try to transcend evil. And that's maybe my biggest gripe with this movie, is that despite the reasons for Kara's motivations to go after this low-life guy, and don't get me wrong, he's evil, he's a sex slave criminal, so he definitely deserves his comeuppings. That's in any movie. I just reviewed The Furious, where you had a father trying to rescue his daughter from a sex slave operation, so kudos again, you came up with a decent villain here, but it was an underwhelming villain. That's my biggest problem with this. I mean, of all the plethora of villains you have in this movie, like Brainiac, you got the Furies from Darkseid, you choose this low-life, meaningless character that nobody's ever heard of, and he's not even memorable. He's not even Guardians of the Galaxy memorable. So why did we pick this character of all things, this story? Why? Because it's a Tom King, critically acclaimed book. And as for Jason Momoa, I don't know, but he was very incredibly underwhelming for me in this movie. Yes, he kicked ass, he took names just like he's supposed to do as Lobo, but it gave us really nothing interesting about Momoa in this movie. He gave the little girl a little idea, and that was about it. No advice whatsoever. And I get it, Lobo's not supposed to be some kind of inspiring character, but this once again plays right into the whole tongue-in-cheek attitude of DC Studios that I am just sick and tired of. This nihilistic attitude to dissimulate superheroes. It may have worked in Guardians of the Galaxy, but Jimmy Gunn, it doesn't work here, and you really need to go. I'm just done with your nonsense already. Like, I really hated this. I don't care if you didn't write or direct this movie. You signed off on this, and this is the garbage you handed us. You deserve to be fired for this nonsense, because this is what we're tired of. We are really incredibly tired of the nonsense that you're putting in these superhero movies. Now, I'm going to go straight to the part that really, I think, encapsulates why I very much dislike this movie. And in case you haven't figured it out yet, yeah, this is getting a poor rating from me. But please, if you can hang on with me a little bit longer in this video, let me give you my biggest reason why this movie absolutely sucks, in my opinion. And it's the ending, or the final moments of the battle between Supergirl and Krem. When she makes it to the planet, initially she is poisoned with kryptonite. And yes, there's spoilers here, so be prepared to hear them if you have to. I really don't care. It's a planet that, of course, it starts off with a green sun, which is poisonous to her, but eventually it does turn yellow and gives her the power to fight back against Krem. And right when you think, and again, one of the things I want to mention here, this is finally when she decides to don the Supergirl costume. She accepts that this is her role in life. She goes to save Ruthie from Krem, and again, we get this powerful superhero montage of her kicking butt and everything. And then you have this inspirational music hyping up. And I gotta tell you, for just that moment that the music hit and she was doing this, I was invested for just that moment. Until you did a record scratch, changed the music, and made it into a Jimmy Eat World remake song. And I like Jimmy Eat World. I love that song. But this was an atrocious song that ruined the experience for me. All you had to do was keep the music going. The orchestral music you had, that scene would have hit. And I would have absolutely have been invested right there alone. You would have had me right there. But you give me a fake version of Jimmy Eat World. There's a lot of words I want to say after this, but I'm going to hold off on that. But that alone got me a little bit annoyed. But there's more. Hold up. There's more. When we get to the final moments when Krem is defeated, and again, this is a spoiler. If you're not paying attention to what I just told you, this is going to be spoilers, click away. But otherwise, I'm going straight into it because I honestly don't care. This movie sucks. Krem is on the ground. He's defeated. Kara has spent the entire movie telling Ruthie not to kill him. That you would not be okay if you do this. You would regret this for the rest of your life. Inspirational words for a superhero. Absolutely great. Until it's Supergirl's turn to deal with Krem, who, of course, I will admit, goads her, and kind of does something very similar to that of Zod in Man of Steel, where he was almost ready to kill a family. That's a whole nother discussion, but I just wanted to mention that here. And what does Supergirl do? Yeah. Do as I say, but not as I do.
Son of a bitch!
Again, I come back to what I just said earlier. This movie has a hero, or a protagonist. Let's just say use that word, because it's not really a hero. It's just someone in a story being driven to have to do something they don't even want to do. And does the thing that a superhero like Superman would not do. And of course, they're trying to differentiate her from Superman. I get that. But again, superheroes are to inspire. They're to be examples to the people that they're rescuing and helping. But instead, you give us another The Boys moment here with her murdering Krem. Again, I understand this is a lawless world out in the universe where no one is there. But, wait a minute. Let me remind you of something else I found. First off, I want to give credit to Angry Badger. He has a YouTube channel here. Go like and subscribe to him. But he pointed out something that was very, very obviously an issue with this movie from the get-go. All right, fine. You have a lawless world. exactly how many Green Lanterns in this DC universe do we exactly have? Are there only 2 out there? 3? 4 maybe? Or are there not supposed to be a Green Lantern Corps, as in multiple lanterns that could be anywhere at any given time, dealing with lawless idiots like this? So, if you had a Green Lantern just happen to show up at the end of this movie per se, maybe Kara could have handed Krem over to the authorities. And here's another thing. Going back to Krem again, he's an underwhelming villain. By doing this, you could have given us a little bit more development with Krem, and maybe he could have become an even bigger villain later on. Maybe. And that's a big maybe, because again, I still find him to be just the most generic villain I've ever seen in quite some time. But point still stands. You're telling me that Kara is the only person that can do the right thing and deal with Krem and not utilize an entire universe full of superheroes. What are we doing? Seriously, what are we doing? Now, I'll admit it's a little too early to say how Supergirl is going to do at the box office. As of right now, it is kind of expected to gross between 80 and 90 million here. So we'll have to wait and see, because it is going to be facing incredible stiff competition, because you still have Toy Story in theaters as of last week, and there's a lot going on right now. Even I wouldn't say a bet per se, but there's predictions that perhaps Toy Story is going to dominate this weekend and still keep Supergirl out of the number 1 spot, which is going to be quite the most hilarious laughter I'm going to have if it does happen. Because, quite frankly, Warner Brothers, DCU, you deserve this. This is the nonsense that you have given us for so many years, because you decided to go with a guy who wanted to do his own weird take on the DCU, and it sucks. So unfortunately, where does that leave the DCU? Well, next up we have Lanterns coming up in August, and boy, is that going to get a roasting of its own, because even I've got my issues with that we're definitely going to have to talk about when we get to that series. And never mind that it's a series and not a movie once again. That's another gripe I have with the DCU. Is there interesting choices of movies they would prefer to do rather than should do? But hey, that's my thoughts on that. If you have a moment, give me your comments. I would like to know what you guys thought about Supergirl. I'm pretty sure some of you are still going to go see this regardless of what I say here, and that's fine. I only want to tell you what to expect, and if you still want to spend your dollar this weekend at the theaters at that movie, be my guest. As for me, this gets a poor rating. I did not enjoy this movie one bit. It really, once again, is another example of nihilistic deconstruction of superheroes, and quite frankly, I'm done with it. I really would like to see an inspirational superhero. The closest we got was Superman last year, and it wasn't enough. So, that's all I got to say here. Like, share, and subscribe. And there's another thing to say. Shameless plug alert starting now.